Good afternoon, Arvind. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
Good
afternoon,
afternoon,
ma'am.
Vanita. Good afternoon,
Yes,
Vanita.
Good
good
afternoon,
evening.
ma'am.
Okay, Paulami ma'am. Now, ma'am, you can start because 49 teachers are present now.
Okay,
Start,
sir.
ma'am.
Okay. Principal sir or vice principal sir will not join,
I think they will join. Maybe
but
they are in any meeting.
okay, okay,
Okay.
okay. Yes, sir.
I have informed all of them.
All right. I wish a very pleasant and cheery afternoon to our respected coordinator, madams, and to the entire teaching faculty. I heartily welcome you all today here, and I hope this becomes an insightful session for you all. Kindly allow me to share the screen. My topic for today is Understanding Multiple Intelligences, a theory forwarded by famous American psychologist Howard Gardner. In the next slide, teachers, I have a question for you all. It is just for our own self introspection. And it says, are you smart? And if your answer is yes, then how? On what ground or on what basis you consider yourselves as smart? Is it the way you deal with complex people in your life? Is it the way you solve day to day problems? Is it the way you get yourselves adapted to difficult situations and the environmental factors? Or is it just the way you solve mathematics? Our answers will be different, we will vary in our perspective, outlook, but one common statement that we all will agree to is we all are smart and in our own ways. We all have our part to play. And this has been proven through this concept, this theory of multiple intelligences. Howard Gardner, he has published a book named Frames of Mind, where he has talked loudly about multiple intelligences and he introduced 8 to 9 different type of intelligences that we human beings possess. In the next slide, teachers, I have tried to recall and pen down something about one of my old, acquaintance. Just a minute. One of my old acquaintance, and I just thought that letting you people know a little bit about him will be a good way to start today's presentation, and thereafter I can go deep into the explanation of the theories, beliefs, and concepts. I will read it out for you, and name of my friend I have changed here. When I was in high school, one of the students stood out as super brain of our entire school, Paul Cronin. I was in several classes with him, and it didn't matter what the subject was, he was light years ahead of the rest of us. In maths, he would get into conversations with teacher about equations and concepts which we couldn't even begin to understand. In English, he would quote Shakespeare and poetry. In science, all of his experiments worked. His smartness was a kind of nightmare for the rest of the class. What Paul wasn't good at, though, was getting well with along with people. He was far from it. Although everyone agreed that he was brilliant, he wasn't very popular. And I don't recall ever seeing him at parties or dances. After I graduated and went to college, I lost touch with Paul. One day, however, I was visiting the neighborhood where I grew up and happened to step into a shoe store. The clerk looked vaguely familiar and he seemed to recognize me too. When I heard his voice, I knew who it was at once. Paul Cronin. I was shocked. What was he doing here in this job? I had imagined him as a professor at some prestigious school or as some top scientist at a major laboratory. Paul told me that he had dropped out of college because he found it dull and waste of time. As we talked, I could see that he was still, how can I put it, a little strange, just as he was in high school. He never looked directly at me and he jumped from topic to topic so quickly that I had trouble having a conversation with him. I left the store feeling slightly melancholy. There is absolutely nothing wrong with selling shoes, of course, but Paul was so bright that it seemed as though he has wasted some wonderful talents. Having said that, teachers, why do I start with this incident? Because it illustrates 2 points I want to emphasize at the very beginning. Firstly, is intelligence. The major topic of this session is indeed an important characteristic, and secondly, it is not a guarantee of success, accomplishment, or personal happiness. But what precisely is intelligence? Can it be measured? And if so, how? Is there only one kind of intelligence, or there are many? And to what extent is intelligence influenced by genetic factors or environmental factors? Or is it by each person's unique life experiences? There are among the questions psychologists have sought to answer in their research on human intelligence, and we will address one of those aspects of intelligence today. If you can see on your screen, there are several questions over here, such as, and I'm pretty sure that these questions, or you people must have brainstormed on these questions at least once in your life. Okay, like, am I an intelligent person? How intelligent I am? Or is intelligence how precisely we learn a new task? Or is it how good we are in our studies? Or is intelligent all about how well we can solve problems? So different people may understand intelligence differently, and if you think intelligence is all of these or even more than these, then you are right. So specifically, our discussion will proceed as follows. We will try to see how they have able to give a structure, or how they have able to give a definition to this term intelligence. If you see the first line, it is quite interesting. It says Intelligence, like love, is one of those concepts that are easier to recognize than to define. The term intelligence refers to individuals' abilities to understand complex ideas, to adapt effectively to environment, to learn from experiences, to engage in various forms of reasoning, to overcome obstacles by careful thought. Now, Gartner began developing a theory designed to synthesize his research and observations. In 1983, he published, which I talked about in the second or first slide, I think, published Frames of Mind, which outlined his theory of multiple intelligences. According to this theory, people have many different ways of learning, unlike traditional theories of intelligence that focus on one single, that is general intelligence, and it is more popularly known as G factor, a theory put up by Spearman, and which is followed by your IQ level and IQ test. Okay, so each person, Gartner has to say that each person has unique intelligence, that we thrive in certain learning environment, while few keep struggling to get accustomed to it. Okay, so teachers can use MI in classroom for benefit of their students by customizing lessons, classroom layout, and the assignments. Let's go into the next slide and dig a bit into the origin of MI theory. Okay, so when the psychometric and behaviorist ages reached their peak, it was believed that intelligence was a singular inherited entity and that human beings were born as blank pages. Now, what does this phrase singular inherited entity means? That singular that intelligence is a singular term, it's a singular noun which has a very distinct and different existence, and that doesn't have anything to do with other factors of human brain, that is your memorization or learning or thinking capabilities. Okay, it is totally different and totally unique, and we human beings are born just as blank pages. Okay, as we develop, intelligence keeps developing in us, and in certain challenging cases, it may become stagnant, like the cases of children who are suffering from autism or mentally retardation, or if ever they come, or they meet with some kind of accidents. Those are different cases. Okay, but like today, an increasing number of researchers believe the opposite, which is that there is a multitude of intelligences independent of each other, and that intelligence develop these areas, and not through paper and pencil and IQ test. So he is challenging the general intelligence over here. Okay, and he says that he argued rather that there are better, or at least alternative ways to measure intelligence than standard IQ test for students in both regular and special education. Now, what are the application of MI theory? I will read the second paragraph first. The application of this theory can be observed in pre-primary, elementary, and high school education, as well as in vocational and adult education. Even though Gardner's theory has not been fully accepted in the academic context, like this is a part of criticism which we will read in the later slides, or we will discuss in the later slides. There has been a strong and positive response from several hundred of educators. It has also been adopted by several education theoreticians and public policy designers. But why? Why it has gained this popularity? Okay, so we have listed out a few reasons over here. First, it says that it helps teachers, students, and parents realize that there are multiple ways to learn and that they themselves possess multiple types of intellectual strengths and life skills. Very true. Often we remain unaware or simply ignorant of the traits, the qualities, caliber that are hidden inside us. We are afraid to break the regularity and get accustomed to the monotony, isn't it? So the truth is we get accustomed to the monotony. We have to agree that the kind of learning style we have in us somewhere same is reflected in our classroom teaching as well. For example, I'll tell you in little simple way. I personally feel that verbal, visual, and intrapersonal intelligence are more dominant and promising in me. Okay, and this is because these are the areas my teachers have focused on more back on those days. Then the kind of moral values, parenting style that have been applied on us, somewhat similar we try to inflict in our classroom while addressing the students. So only when we will know about MI theory and believe in it, we will try our hands on different other activities, which we feel is not our cup of tea. But it is a fact that we human beings have more than one intelligence, or we may have all 8 to 9 of them. Okay. And when this realization, this thing is happening, point number 1 is happening, it will lead to point number 2 and 3, that it helps the students with special needs. Also, it increases students' confidence and enthusiasm for learning. Also, improve their academic achievement. Teacher, sorry for interruption. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. I will keep asking so that I know I'm not dropped out. Okay, so let me explain this a bit. So, when the child will explore his or her domain, or will explore the technique that works for him or her, it will give the child a moral boost. He or she will able to maintain sync with the speed or the progression of the syllabus, let's say. Okay, so the child will gain interest gradually and will happily attempt the task assigned. And that will definitely have positive impact in his or her academic progression. And when this is occurring, okay, when child will start taking interest, adopting his way of learning, his techniques of learning, it will lead to point number 4 and 5, that it changes teachers' perception for their students' learning abilities and creates a classroom environment of students with different abilities. So there will be days when we no longer we will say that I have 5% slow learners in my class. Just a minute. I'm so sorry, excuse me. So we will not say that there are my class is good, but 5 to 10% students are slow learners. Okay, and they just don't want to study whatsoever. Rather, we will say that I have a class with different learning abilities. A class or school where students will be happy to have their favorite corners where they can get involved into serious learning. And the third point is, sorry, and the last point is, make students feel independent. So by this word independent, I mean giving our students the chance to discover and develop their different intelligences that can have a series of benefits for our students, from fostering new talents to becoming more involved and active learners, from developing their capacities to recognize and almost most I will say most importantly value their individual strengths, or guiding them into becoming confident, successful, and accomplished adults in their field of choice. Next slide shows what are the learning objectives of today's session. That is, will reflect on the impact of multiple intelligences theory in your teaching practices, discover how much your learning style affects our teaching style, and share our previous knowledge about multiple intelligences to design learning activities. So I can hope that by the end of this session, we will all be totally motivated, and we will already have plans and activities that we can, put up in our lesson plan, or, maybe some of us are already doing it. Okay, so on that note, let's see what are the 9 types of intelligences Gardner have talked about. Okay, first is linguistic. It is for the word player. Then we have visual spatial, or spatial, whatever you want to call it, or pronounce it, the visualizer. Logical, mathematical, the questioner. Musical, the music lover. Bodily kinesthetic, the mover. Interpersonal, the socializer. Intrapersonal, the loner. Naturalistic, the nature lover, which is added by Gardner at a later date. And then we have existential, the deep thinker, or we can also term them as the philosopher. So let's move into the first point, that is verbal language or linguistic learner you can call, and let's see what are the traits, what kind of characteristics, character, or qualities they possess in themselves. If you see this, uh, it says they will listen and respond to the spoken word. They enjoys reading, writing, and discussing. They remembers what has been said. They also remember what has been read. They speaks and writes effectively, and they can learn other languages. I'll show you this pictorial description. If you can see, like, they hears to learn. They likes listening. They are the good talker, orator. They are often addressed as the chatterbox as well. And what they struggle with most, they get very easily distracted by the noises, and they may read slowly. Okay, so people with these characteristics, they will do good in the careers such as of author, journalist, poet, playwright, radio announcer, typist, speech pathologist, novelist, comedian, actor, curator, orator. Okay, so few learning tips they for them are, they can watch. Okay, they learn maximum by watching, and then by saying, by repeating, by discussing. And what they avoid most, as I said this before also, they avoid most is the noise. Okay, the noises. What kind of activities we can design for them in class? Book reading and reviewing, telling jokes, storytelling, debating, creative writing, persuading. We can ask them, or we can make them leader, and make them persuade others to take active parts in the co-curricular activities, so they can be the good persuaders as well. Some famous people we can recall in this category, from my literature, I mean, being an English teacher, so his name comes first in my mind, is William Shakespeare. Then we have Agatha Christie, T.S. Eliot, Rudyard Kipling, and there are, the list is long. Moving next is visual or the spatial. Now, see, if you are a visual learner, Ask these questions to yourself. Do you make list? Do you dream in color? Dream in color means do you daydream? Okay. Or you dream more often? Do you take detailed notes? Attention to details. Understand charts, demonstrations with ease. Close your eyes to visualize something. Excel at spelling but often forget names. Do you use highlighters or circle or underline words? If you answer yes to most of these questions, then you are part of the 65% of people who are visual learners. I will talk about this in little detail because this is not very recognized, but it is very important in the arts and everyday life. The way that we visually perceive or interpret the world around us is important quality to have. Okay, in art, suppose in arts, the ability to transfer a vision to a painting, sculpture, or a film is a key quality. So, sometimes you must have heard it is the director's vision. उनकी नजर बहुत अलग होती है. Okay, so you need to have visual quality. You need to have that that distinct feature in yourself to give it a better form. Okay, give your ideas, give your knowledge a better form. Careers such as architecture requires a person to transfer a vision of a structure into a blueprint. Very right. So this intelligence is even used by average people to remember small but important facts, like how to travel from your school to your house. Isn't it? Sometimes we memorize the route when we are very new to it. So this is one second. So this is a kind of visual intelligence only. Activities that we can plan for our students who are visual learners, like brochure designing, collages, drawings, flowchart, mapping, molding clay, patterns, photography, idea sketching, labeling, and then visualization. Okay, so these activities we can add in our lesson plan, and it will definitely be very effective for the students who learn visually. What are the careers that are suitable for them? Like advertising agent, architect, engineer, graphic designer, fashion designer, interior designer, painter, photographer, pilot, and there are plenty. Famous people in this category, uh, Pablo Picasso is there, Leonardo da Vinci is there, Frank Lloyd Wright is there. Okay, so you can see this pictorial description. Also, what are their characteristics? They cease to learn, they like images, they like taking notes, they look around, and they struggle with spoken directions. They find it very difficult to remember. Few learning tips for them will be: watch, visualize. Okay, visualize, like it is difference between watching and visualizing. It is like you watch something on television or in your in and around, and then visualize a scenario in your mind. Okay, so that is the difference. And write it down, pen it down, to draw and to color. Next we have is logical mathematical intelligence. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, yes, ma'am, yes.
Okay, 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 sir. Coming to logical mathematical intelligence, it is, this intelligence is the capacity to use numbers effectively, reason well, and someone who has this kind of intelligence is able to see the cause and effect really well. Okay. Also, they are able to identify problem, solve it right there on the spot. People with this intelligence think by reasoning. So I will focus in this word reasoning every time because it's very vital over here. They think by reasoning and they love experimenting, questioning, figuring out logical puzzles, and calculating what kind. We have plenty of activities for them, like Venn diagrams, statistics, timelines, classification, categorization, inference, generalization, okay, sequencing, rational thinking, logic games, like that sudoku, analyzing, problem solving, isn't it? And the careers that are suitable for them are like being an accountant, auditor, banker, bookkeeper, business person, can be a doctor, technician, mathematician, science teacher, researcher, economist, legal assistant, and few very famous people we have known about is like Einstein, Pythagoras, Newton, Galileo, Aristotle, Archimedes. Okay, next point is the musical learner. Being musically intelligent, one second, I will zoom it a bit for you. See, what is written here in this green box, like music comes naturally, can be unable to learn or communicate, but able to perform. Ability to perform and comprehend musically seems to work independently from other forms of intelligence. They learn through songs, patterns, rhythms, instruments, and musical expressions. I will explain it a bit more. Like, as I was saying, being musically intelligent means that you are able to distinguish the sounds around you and that you have the ability to make your own melodies. I mean, the child will have the ability to make their own melodies, even if uh, one is only singing a song or making music. The child is using musical intelligence. So, if he or she is musically intelligent, the child will be able to perceive, discriminate, then transform, and of course express all kinds of musical forms. So here is it has two subparts. One is called figural and the other one is called formal. The figural one is all about the intuitions. They are like intuitive about the music and the creations, and the formal one, they are very technical, they are analytical about music and its creation. For example, under figural we can talk about the music composers or the lyrics. Okay, and for the formal ones, we can talk about the sound engineer. Okay, so the activities we can have for them is like we can ask them to create chants, create concept songs, sing ballads, illustrate with sounds, then environmental sounds, humming, rap, percussions and raps, instrumental sounds, mood music. Okay, musical performance we can engage them into. Careers for them would be songwriter, piano tummer, studio engineer, singer, rapper, composer, music teacher, instrument manager, disc jockey. Okay, and we have India is like diverse when it comes to music. So A.R. Rahman sir and Zubeen Mehta, then Ray Charles, we have Yuhedi Menuhin, we have okay, few famous people who have excelled in this field. Coming next is bodily kinesthetic. See, people who like dancing or they are athletes, they use body to send messages. They like to be active and to touch. They enjoy acting, role play. They like fixing things. Plus, here also given and in the bullets you can read those. So the bodily kinesthetic people are expertise in using one's whole body to express ideas and feelings. It is the ability to use one's hand to produce or transform things. They mostly love to dance, run, jump, touch, and gesturing, movement, things to build. sports, role play, tactiles, touchable experiences. So here is something like how to encourage, and most of the time, it happens. The children who are very vegetative, we often tell them that sit quietly, be seated in your place, don't move. You know, we need to understand that they are very bodily, they are very active, they want to move around, and they are learning something from that. So how can we encourage kinesthetic intelligence rather than stopping them? I think I should zoom. I think this is maximum I can zoom. Okay, so rather than stopping them from moving, it is better to let their bodies develop through expression, enabling them to grow up into creative individuals. They need opportunities to learn by acting things out or moving, as they are hands-on learners. And kinesthetic intelligence needs to be understood better to be able to provide better opportunities to such people in order to bring out their hidden talents. Moving next is interpersonal. Interpersonal is outwardly in nature. Okay, means it goes from outside to inside of an individual. Okay, it's basically all about understanding other people. It is an ability we all need, but it is at premium. Okay, I would say it is at premium if one is a teacher or a salesperson or politician. Anybody who deals with other people has to be skilled in the interpersonal sphere. They enjoy giving feedback to the teacher. So this kind of students we often come across, they love giving feedback to teachers. Ma'am, aisa nahi waisa, I have some personal experience. Okay, our classmates on understanding others feeling, person to person communication, cooperative learning strategies, receiving feedbacks, group project, teaching something new. Okay, conducting an interview, creating phone buddies for homework like WhatsApp group. They are very active in doing it. Okay, creating group rules, do's and don'ts. They are social and empathetic. Okay, some careers which were very which will be promising for them are like administrator, public relations, counselor, religious leader, then travel agent, teachers, of course, sociologist, therapist, nurse. Okay, and one of the person whose name is coming to my mind at right now is Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi. Then we have Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King, Oprah Winfrey. Okay, let's move to intrapersonal now quickly. Interpersonal is just the opposite. It is inwardly. It will go from inside to outside. Okay, it is a kind of intelligence. uh, how do I say it? Like it's a self knowledge and the ability to act adaptively on the basis of that knowledge. How much you know yourself. Okay, so this intelligence includes having an accurate picture of oneself, one's strengths, weaknesses, awareness of inner moods, intentions, motivations, temperaments and desires, and the capacity for self-discipline, self-understanding, self-esteem. So those kind of person are very self-oriented, self-obsessed, we can say. Okay, so essentially it's how well you know yourself, and they are highly reflective and thoughtful. Okay, see, they follow their instincts, they make appropriate choices, they set realistic goals, they show confidence in their abilities. They relate to others based on their sense of self. Few activities that we can design for them is we can ask them to write their autobiography. We can ask them to concentrate. They can be good judge as well. Okay, they can be good goal setter. High order thinking and reasoning type of questions are very suitable for them. Expression of feelings, independent study projects, personal application, personal projection, self identification. Okay, so all these kind of activities will means they are best suited for them. Some Few career options I will talk about is like psychology teacher, philosopher, entrepreneur, program planner, spiritual counselor, researcher. Okay, and uh, good example we have of Helen Keller. Okay, Helen Keller we have. Next is naturalist. Okay, the naturalist. Just a minute. Yeah. So they learn best in outdoors. See the red box and the white box. One second. Yeah. So they learn best in outdoors. People who are curious about their natural world, animals, plants, exhibit naturalist intelligence. They will possess very dramatic enthusiasm when in contact with nature. They have, some that power of observation in nature. They're very physically, emotionally adverse to pollution, and they have intense interest in learning about nature. They will also be interested in conservations, and then conservations, recycling. They will enjoy gardening, and they're sensitive towards animals, insects. As I said, they feel connection to the earth, with the earth. Okay, so few activities, like we can engage them into bonsai, writing articles, poems, short stories. We can conduct class outside, in the garden area or under the tree. Sometimes they can perform. We can ask them to perform skits on nature and cycles. They can conduct research on local foliage, and giving them lessons on weather and nature, involving into, as I said, like writing articles and poems related to nature. So all these activities will be very suitable for them.
Pick. Chi. ये गाना निंजा टेक्निक अच्छा हाँ
Vandana, if you can please unmute yourself. All right. So, yes, I was saying that they may write letters, petition to the local politicians, or work with others to create green space in their communities. Okay. So, famous people we have Charles Darwin, who was like evolutionary scientist. Okay, and then E.O. Wilson, he is known as the father of sociobiology. Then John James Audubon, we have, who is a famous naturalist. And the career for them would be zookeeper, biologist, horticulturist, farmer, forest administrator. Okay, now let me move to this. Last one is our existential. Okay, I would like to start this with a quote um, given by Jean Paul Sartre, who developed the philosophy of existentialism. It says, "Man is nothing else but what he makes of himself." I'll repeat, man is nothing else but what he makes of himself. So these kind of learners will think deep about thoughts and abstractions that had little or no relation to everyday life. Like you can see in on your screen that what is the meaning of life. Okay, they will be the silent, very silent learners. They will like to sit at one corner. They will be very philosophical in nature, and then they will try to figure out the meaning of life. What is beauty? How do you define art? So these are all the big questions that characterize an existentialist intelligence. So these deep thinkers will, with philosophic minds, are always trying to understand the world around them, and they believe, if I talk about the career options for them, they believe in having the liberation in choosing their careers. So they may end up getting into something, a job which would give them even satisfaction, self satisfaction, or a job which will help them to understand the meaning of life, or a job that will, that will they will feel that there is beauty in it. Okay, so They can be your, motivational speakers, religious speakers. That is what I can recall right now. Okay. So here I have put up something where we can combine Bloom's tax. So that was it, talking about 9 sort of intelligences. And here is, you can see how Bloom's taxonomy, the 6 stages of Bloom's taxonomy and multiple intelligences are coming together. I would read out one or two for you. Okay, like there are knowing, and understanding, applying, analyzing, creating, evaluating, and now let's take the verbal one. Who enjoys reading and writing and speaking? Okay, so what kind of tasks we can give them under this category of knowing? We can ask them to write a simple definition of religion. Okay, then under understanding we can ask them to draw a diagram of solar system. When it comes to apply, we can ask them to write a persuasive argument for or against Pluto being a planet. So all are, see, related to what they will like to do. And simultaneously, we are also following the 6 stages given by Bloom's, in his theory. Analyzing, read a dreaming story and then write a sequel on it. Okay. Imagine, under creating, we can ask them to imagine you are an astronaut and propose a way to allow more people to visit space. For evaluating, we can ask them to prepare a list of criteria to judge dreaming dances. Okay, like suppose you are a judge and what rubrics you will set up. Suppose there is a dance competition going on. So something like this we can ask them to do, and it will also serve the purpose of evaluation. Okay, coming to mathematical, logical skills, intelligence, who enjoys science, working with numbers. Okay, so we can ask them to list as many religions as you can. Okay, then understanding, we can ask them to conduct a survey to find out about the major religions in the class and showcase it in a graphical form. For applying, we can ask them to compare two different planets, including size, distance from the sun, temperature, and distance from moon, and all that. For analyzing, we can ask them to invent a machine that would help live on other planet or moon. They cannot, even if they cannot come up with the machine, they will at least brainstorm and they will come up with some groundwork. Okay, then creating, we can ask them to discuss ways on how people of different religions can exist in peace. Here we have something for the visual spatial one. Design a symbol to, like, those are the one who are mostly into drawing diagrams and all of those. So they learn good from the posters, from the demonstration. So we can ask them to design a symbol to represent your belief. Understanding, like retell a dreaming story and illustrate. Develop a board game on space. Under applying, under analyzing, we can ask them to develop an advertisement to sell a planet as a good place to visit. Think of colors, pictures, catchy phrases. Okay, for creating, create a name and level your machine. For evaluating, create a PowerPoint presentation that summarize an aspect of our study. Okay, so like this we have also for musical, for interpersonal. If you want, I can share the slide, you can read them and then you can apply all these in your lesson plan and you can plan activities for them. Okay, we are just left with 10 minutes, so I'm getting into this part, which is the criticism. Okay, which is much important, so I will talk about it now. First, let me read it out for you, then I will explain you point wise. Okay, Gardner's theory has come under criticism from both psychologists and educators. These critics argue that Gardner's definition of intelligence is too broad and that his different intelligences simply represent talents, personality traits, and abilities. Gardner's theory also suffers from lack of supporting empirical research. The same research presents evidence to demonstrate that cognitive neuroscience research does not support the theory of multiple intelligences. One major criticism of theory is that it is not expanding the definition of the word intelligence, but rather denies the existence of intelligence as traditionally understood, and instead uses the word intelligence where other people have traditionally used the words like ability and aptitude. This practice has been criticized by Robert J. Sternberg, points out that Gardner's selection and application of criteria for his intelligences is subjective and arbitrary. Now, let me explain you point wise. I will sum it up in just 3 to 4 points. Now, firstly, they say that it is not research based. Okay, it is assumption based. That is why it has got less empirical support. I'm not saying no empirical support, less. And what is empirical? The word empirical means experience. We have seen experience real life autism, children who suffering from this autism or mentally retarded, or they have met with an accident. So those kind of cases we have seen, but less in number. Okay, so where we can say that they may not able to cope up with the syllabus of school curriculum, but that doesn't mean they're not good in other activities. So we have seen those real life experiences, we have seen those cases, but it is less in number. And it is not research based. It has no lab test. Like, we cannot take a healthy child, take him or her into the lab. We can like hit on his head and see if one part of brain is not working, will the other will also stop, or will other keep working. Okay, so we can't do that. That is illegal also, and there is no natural test is not available. So it is purely assumption based. It is not research based, or it cannot be taken for lab test. It is it is completely assumption based, and it has got very less empirical support. He has also left a loophole. Okay, like he has said that uh, all the intelligences are independent. It is not interrelated, whereas it is interrelated. Like, an architecture need to have spatial as well as logical intelligence. Okay, a painter, he will need kinesthetic as well as visual intelligence. Okay, but Gardner said that they are independent from each other. No, they are interdependent. For drawing something, I need to have a visualization. Okay, then it is said that it is arbitrary. It has got arbitrary classification. Now, arbitrary means sometimes he is saying, first in his book Frames of Mind, he talked about 7 intelligence. Then he included the 8th one, the naturalist. Okay, then he came up with the 9th one. Then we may see 2 to 3 years down the line there will be no. There are more 10, 11. So that is मन चाहा, उसका कोई आधार नहीं है. It is baseless, and when asked, he has failed to explain the base of it. So that's why it is arbitrary. And people say, the critics, they say they're talent based. They are not intelligences. He have talked about bodily kinesthetic. He has talked about visual. He has talked about verbal, linguistic, language, and all of that. Now, if you see a child, who is a student and is also playing cricket, has got very good hands in computers, you will say the child is talented. बहुत talent है उसमें, हम ये नहीं बोलेंगे कि he is very intelligent. Okay, so They said that these are the talents, these are the abilities, this is the aptitude. These are not coming under intelligence. So this is one of the criticisms. Now, uh, there is one more point, and the last is like G factor is missing. General intelligence, like remembering a name of places, old faces, mathematical equations. Okay, so he have talked about all other sort of abilities you call it or intelligence you call it. It is your choice. But he has not talked about or not proposed something related to general intelligence. So that is missing. What we would call all those? If these are the intelligence, then what about general intelligence? Okay, again he couldn't answer to these questions. So despite this, the theory of MI enjoys considerable popularity among educators. Many teachers utilize MIs in their teaching philosophies and work to integrate Gardner's theory into the classroom. Okay, and with that, I come to the last slide, which we all like to see. But I would like to end it with a quote that if the child cannot learn in the way we teach, we must teach in a way the child can learn. Okay, so thank you, each and every one of you, for being such a patient listener and looking forward to your feedback in the assessment form. Keep learning and have a good day.
Paumi, wonderful session. Wonderful.
Too good Paulami teacher.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
It
Do
was
I
very
also,
knowledgeable session.
thank you, sir. Do I also need to fill the assessment form?
No, 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 ma'am.
No. Okay. Thank you, teachers. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me for all the comments.
Good job, Paulami.